Good morning, staff, and welcome to our second day of winter virtual training. I want to thank all of our presenters today and the departments who worked on organizing the training, from presenters to our department supervisors, making sure we could all make today's event. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the professional development you will glean as you virtually attend throughout the day. I also want to say welcome aboard to a few of our newest employees that are in the operations department. Josie Garcia, Aaron Rivas, and Ivor Romero have all started in our operations department as Vector Control Technicians 1. If you see these faces, and most likely properly masked, please make sure you're doing what you can to help them as they navigate this new full-time position. So congratulations, guys, and please don't hesitate to reach out to your peers, to your supervisors, and to anybody on the leadership team if you have questions or need some guidance. We are all here to help you be a success. So welcome aboard. All right. I want to talk to you about the district's goals, and one of them is financial management. Our board and our staff want to ensure that we have long-term stability, financial security, and taxpayer value. And over the next couple slides, I'm going to give you an update of where we stand financially this fiscal year so that you can sleep well at night. I know it's good to know that your employer is in good financial health, and as you'll see in the coming slides, we're looking good, which is fortunate for us. Just a little background. This is current fiscal year's revenue. This was in our budget document that you can find on our website if you're interested for more details. And as you can see here, two sources, our primary sources of revenue are property taxes and what's called RDA tax increment. And in addition to that tax money that we get, the district is fortunate to have a benefit assessment that our board can vary each year from $0 to up to about a little over $24 per parcel, basically. And in addition to these large amounts of revenue, we do have additional investments, such as interest, as well as some miscellaneous forms of revenue. All this money goes to our operating expenses, and for our operating expenses, the biggest share of this pie is payroll. That includes your take-home pay, as well all of your benefits through your pension to your health care benefits and so forth. Next is our operating expenses, so your department budgets, the money that you need to do your job, our utility expenses, administrative expenses like liability insurance and things like that. And then every year we contribute a certain amount of money to our capital reserves so that we have money for the future to ensure that our facilities, our equipment is up to date and ready to be used to fulfill our mission. Taking a little bit closer look of how cash varies through our fiscal year, you'll see in this graph on the x-axis is month, so our fiscal year runs from July through the end of June, so July 21st through June 22, and you will see that we started this year with this amount of cash in the bank to pay for our operating expenses. So we had $5.8 million over the course of the last 7 months or 6 months ending December. We drew that money down just about to nothing, and then we got an installment of our property taxes and other assessment monies that brings us back up in the positive, and then we draw that money again paying for our paychecks, our operating expenses, and then we get another infusion of benefit assessment property tax money in May and June, which will end us at the end of this fiscal year with $4 million in cash to start the next fiscal year. Good news for this year, we budgeted revenue The actual revenue was exceeded, so we got more money than we planned to get, and our expenditures were less than we forecasted. And so this puts us in a strong financial position going into this new year. And this is good news. Pensions. As a full-time employee, you, after so many years of working here, are guaranteed a certain level of pension. This past year, if you remember from the previous graph, we had 5.8 million cash. Well, that's an extra million than we normally have, and so the board decided to take that million and pay it towards all of our pensions. One, to reduce our unfunded liability, the portion that we don't have funded for our pensions, and also to save taxpayers money in interest, close to $560,000, or $70,000 I should say. And again, if you remember those strategic goals, we want to be financially secure but also save taxpayer money. This hit that target. Looking at this graph, you can see on the x-axis is a fiscal year, so 21-22 is right here. On the y-axis that I'll focus you on is our operating expense to pay for our pensions each year. So you can see if the board didn't take that million and pour it towards our pension, this is what our annual payment would be to fund our pensions for the next 5 years. But by using that million, that dropped our annual payment, saving us money. And then actually by 26-27, we'll have that unfunded liability paid off. And again, this is good news, as we can then either lower our expenses or we can mobilize that money to other needs, either more staffing possibly, or potentially even reducing our benefit assessment. Again, giving better taxpayer value either way you shake it. We also, as employees, full-time employees, have post-employment benefits. We have retiree health care. Back in 2012, the board decided to start paying into a state retiree benefit trust fund to fund that retiree health care. And since 2012, the district has contributed almost $3 million to this fund, and that fund has earned us almost $2 million. What does this mean? This means, based on state calculations, we need $4.8 million to cover our current employees' retirement benefits. The district has about $4.7 million set aside already, based on contributing to this fund and the interest earned on it. This means we still need about $87,000 to be fully funded, which means that we're 98% funded. This is an excellent ratio, and the district really, amongst local agencies, leads the way in this, and we're in a good financial position. And also, again, some good news for us as employees and good news for the public we serve. So, in summary, through our annual budget and through taking care of our long-term obligations to our pensions and our retiree health care, we do have long-term stability. We did meet the financial security piece, and we are maximizing taxpayer value. Good news. So now I'm going to shift to the board meeting. We had the board meeting on February 8th. A couple big pieces that came out of that meeting. The board approved a new AC or HVAC system for the lab space. The sorting lab and the battery room of the lab gets uncomfortably warm in the heat of the summer, which impacts our staff as well as the equipment there. We will be retrofitting that area of the lab with a new HVAC system so that it stays cool, so that our staff can work comfortably as well as the equipment operate in an ideal work environment. Again, good news. Also, another project was approved was reconfiguring space. We're growing as a staff, our services are changing, and our buildings and infrastructure from time to time are going to change. Here in this photo, this is where Diane sits there in the front. You can see the front door through there. This is the old finance department where Veronica and Grace used to sit. Our copy room and our file room. What's going to be happening now that the board approved? We're going to be doing some light construction work. And what we're going to be doing, here's again where Diane sits. Here's the finance office, the file room, the copy room. Armando and Oscar are actually going to be charged with this work. We're going to be demoing these walls once we get our plans approved and creating a large open workspace for our public outreach department. Once this is complete, Tammy and her department will be moving to the front administration building in this new space that will be open but also have partitions and will be public facing. What that means then for other staff, our finance department, who's been housed in our old conference room, will move to the current outreach space once they're settled, and where finance is currently, that will, for the meantime, return to a conference room for small meetings. And so this is going to be happening over the course of the next 3 or 4 months. Again, good news for staff, and we'll maximize our space and give our staff the space they need to work efficiently. Another piece of news, and I think it's good, is budget time. And as you can see here, David, this is a happy time of year for him. I know he loves budgeting, and I just want to remind staff that your department is in that mode. And so for everyone, if you think you have some needs that require financial assets to secure, this is the time to be talking to your supervisors, to your department managers about those needs, so they can incorporate them into a proposed department budget. We'll be taking that to the finance committee in April, and now is the time to speak up in your department. So please do. If you have any questions about the budget, please either touch base with David, or again, like I said, your department managers and your supervisors. A quick strategic planning workshop highlights. Oh, and I just caught my typo, but I'm not going back because I've tried to record this presentation 3 times. Anyways, we had a strategic planning workshop, and those in attendance were our board of trustees, our management, supervisor staff, as well as representatives from our employee unions. And the point of a strategic planning workshop is to get together and have discussion on what we think is important to focus on for the next 3, maybe 5 years. And at this workshop, some of the big topics that kind of surfaced, they may not be in our plan in the end, but this is the results of the workshop. And what we'll be moving forward, before I share those points, will be I, as a general manager, will be working with our consultant as well as our department managers and supervisors to hone and develop a strategic plan that'll take us through the next 3 years, that will give us some guidance approved by the board to move the district forward to reach our key objectives. But some big idea items that came up at this planning meeting, succession planning of staff development. We have a lot of staff. We're all getting older, as you know, and we have staff that stay here for a long time, and we have some that have been here for a long time and are looking forward to retirement in the near future. We need to be thinking critically about that, so that when they do get to enjoy their retirement, it's a seamless transition for the staff that continue to work on. And so that could be some focus for this plan in the coming 3 years. Program service levels. What are we trying to achieve? And I know as we've encountered working with new invasive mosquitoes, that's been a stressor on our programs. And so what are we trying to achieve, and how can we measure that? And if we can't hit those levels that we want, how are we going to reach those levels? Does it mean more staffing? Does it mean to refine our work methods? These are some things that come with program service levels or key performance indicators that may be part of that plan. Another thing that was important for the board and staff was IT and cybersecurity. I think we all know cybersecurity is always at the top of people's workflow. Ed and the IT department have been focusing on that and helping us get better at making sure we're using our IT safely, and we'll have to continue to focus on that. Use of emerging technology, sterile insect technique, use of drones, other things that again facilitate our ability to reach our mission here in the Valley. And to continue to span how we conduct our vector control measures to make sure that we're using the best available resources that are effective but also environmentally sound and financially prudent. So with that brings me to the end of my presentation. Hope you enjoyed this information. If you have questions about anything that I talked about today, feel free to give me a call, send me a chat in Teams or email, and I'll be glad to talk about these topics with you. With that, enjoy the rest of your training today and have a good day.